Hello everybody, I just finished round 2 of my tournament. It was a very tense game and I'll say no more than that. I'm going to do a brief analysis, so I'll talk about my thoughts during the game. Hope you enjoy. Thanks a lot for your support in the comment section. I got down on my board and I think I was still on board 2 of the intermediate because a lot of the higher players still won. A lot of the nervousness that I had on the first round was gone as well, so I was able to play a bit more clearly and think. I had the white pieces this time and I opened with e4. My opponent played d6, which I wasn't very happy to see, because I just don't do that well against the perk. I think it's quite solid. It's not necessarily that I do bad, but it requires quite a lot of like precise play to try and push for any sort of advantage. I played d4. This is your normal response, taking space in the center. Knight f6, knight c3, and c6. Wasn't exactly sure what to play here. I'm not familiar with any of the theory. I just played bishop d3 because I'm conscious that in a lot of lines this e4 pawn could be weak. You have e5 striking back at the center, d takes e5, d takes e5, and already we've got a position that looks slightly sort of dull, like not much chances really. I played bishop g5, just pinning the knight. This was the only real move that I could consider. I would like to castle queenside, and moving this bishop makes me a little quicker to that plan. Bishop e7, I played queen e2, getting my queen out of the way of queenside castles, and also getting my queen off the d file so that when I do castle queenside, this bishop moves, it'll attack the queen. It was just like a nice sort of tempo gaining idea that I had. Bishop e6, I think this is a solid move, lining up against the a2 square on my king side, on my queen side. I did castle on the queen side, queen a5. So I think this is a perfectly fine position, and I spent quite a lot of time here and I ended up playing quite a big mistake. So I haven't looked back at this since the game. I believe that a move like bishop d2, is the way to go about things, because I ended up playing king b1, and after bishop b4, I think I'm lost. This knight, the defense of this knight defends the a2 pawn, and once it's removed from that defense, the a2 pawn will be won. I was really disappointed. I didn't really know what I was doing. I played bishop d2. Bishop d2 just so that I don't double my c pawns, and I plan for like bishop takes c3, bishop takes c3, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to lose a pawn here, but it's okay. Although I do think, for example, bishop takes, I would probably play king c1. I could play king a1, but then queen b4. This doesn't look good. King c1. This queen has got to move, and I think this bishop could be trapped. So I thought that I might have some chances in that line as well. And it looks completely superficial, but if instead the move queen takes a2 was played, king c1 again, and this queen is kind of locked into the position. It's kind of locked into the position. Next move, I'll play probably a move like b3, and my bishop defends a1, and the queen is trapped. The queen might struggle to get back into the game, but I don't really think I have any chances here. For example, b3, let's just say white plays, let's say white castles. If I play b3, then it's just this check, and then the queen comes back. So I was very disappointed in myself for having fallen for this. But then, after this, after bishop d2, my opponent plays knight b d7. I think my opponent saw some ghosts in the position. They thought that they couldn't go for this, but just looking at that, black looks completely winning. So I was very glad about this. I had to calm myself down and start thinking straight again. Try and get into some sort of position where I'm not lost. So since black didn't go for this tactic, I immediately play a3. So I'm attacking the bishop, I'm kicking it out. Bishop e7 played. I was expecting bishop takes c3, but now I just go for a plan for the long run. I play knight d5, queen d8, and then I have the bishop pair here. After that, I play knight f3. I'm just developing here. I'm very happy that my opponent didn't go for that line still. Kingside castles, bishop c3. I'm lining up against this e5 pawn, and it's quite hard to defend. It is quite hard to defend. I thought it was impossible to defend, because queen d6, you don't really want to play that, but my opponent plays bishop g4. So this is a nice find. pinning my knight to my queen so I can't go for any of this line. But I'll play h3 attacking the bishop. If the bishop retreats, then I'll kick it out, and yeah, oh no, because the bishop also uncovers the queen's defense. But I would be quite happy in this position. I'd probably play h4, knight takes. I'd be happy, nice attacking position. But bishop takes f3 and I take with the g pawn, so I'm kind of ruining my pawn structure, but I now have the open g file, and this is going to be very strong, as you're going to find out. Rook fd8, rook fd8 played by my opponent. I'm not sure about the purpose behind this move. I think the rook was fine on f8. I think getting there, it's always the question of which rook you should be moving. I suppose my opponent wanted to keep the a rook for some sort of future queenside attack. I played rook dg1, so I'm transferring my d rook to the g file. King h8, this is a smart move, otherwise I did have plans such as like queen d2 and then coming out here. So just getting off of the g file, getting away from this pin, great idea. Play h4. So I do have, I have the bishop pair here. Bishop pair versus the knight pair. And I am quite confident that if I can open up the position, I'll have a nice attack. Knight h5 was played. This is I think it's quite a good move, trying to get this weak f4 square. And this would be a fork and I'd lose my bishop pair. So I'll play queen e3, so that after knight f4, I can just move my bishop to c4. b5. So I spent a little bit of time in this position, pondering whether to play bishop b3 or bishop a2. So I do play bishop b3. And my opponent plays f6, so I think this is... there was definitely a reason for f6. Oh yeah, I remember. So if my opponent had gone for a plan like a5, then I did actually have a very nice idea of sacking my queen. And the king would be forced to g6, and then I win this queen back. I'm a bishop for a knight and I'm a pawn up, and I think I'm completely winning here. The rook could come to g4 as well. I'm not sure if my opponent would spot this, but they did. That is why they played f6. They're closing down this diagonal. But in closing down this diagonal, they open up the dark square. They open up the light square diagonal, sorry. I played rook g4 here. So I'm preparing to double on the g file, and I also do have the idea of an exchange sacrifice. a5. My opponent's trying to start a queenside attack. Honestly, I'm not sure if that's the best call of action here, because my king can easily just... I think my king's quite safe on the queen side, especially with both these bishops here. Rook hg1, I'm doubling up, g6. So, of course, my opponent can't play a move like a rook g8. But g6, I think it's a very weak move, and I do decide to go for the exchange sacrifice here. Rook takes f4, e takes f4, queen takes f4, and honestly, I think that the best move in this position would be a move like knight e5, just completely blocking the this bishop's diagonal. And I think this was the safest move. I think black would have a slight advantage here, and when I did play the exchange sacrifice here, I think I was quite low on time, and I just wanted to create some chances, because with this position here, I'm never breaking through. All I wanted was a chance of breaking through and creating an attack, and that does come with the risk of your opponent defending. But my opponent plays rook f8, defending the f6 pawn. But I think this isn't the best move here. This isn't the best move. I play h5, and my opponent finally crumbles under the pressure. They played g5, which is a mistake. It was quite funny actually. I thought that this was fine for my opponent, because let's say I play rook takes, so of course can't be taken due to the pin, but then b5, something like this, bishop d4, and c5, my bishop is going to be kicked away from this diagonal, my opponent's going to win the rook, and I was like, oh, so it's a trap, my opponent's made a trap. And I thought that if queen g5, then my opponent has rook g8 and they're skewering me. And I completely forgot, I don't know how, for a few minutes I completely forgot about this bishop on b3 there'd just be a mate here. And after I found this out, I was like, my opponent did actually make a mistake. I play queen takes g5, my opponent plays knight e5, finally trying to block the dark square diagonal, but it's too late now. I play bishop takes e5, my queen still can't be captured due to the king would be in check, and if the bishop's captured, then I win the queen. This is great. My opponent plays c5 to try and play c4, block my bishop from this diagonal, and then play rook g8. But here I play a nice move. I play bishop e6. So I'm getting my bishop further into the territory so that c4 won't block it out. If queen takes, then I have queen g7, mate. And I stopped writing down my moves here. I think that I wanted to put a bit of pressure on my opponent, or I was quite low on time. But I remember it going something along the lines of, like, the rook comes here, and then I played h6, and then I got the mate like this. This is the mate that I got. It's a very nice mate. My opponent didn't realise it was mate at first. I held out my hand to shake his hand, and he was like, "Oh, it's my move." And I'm like, no, it's mate. It's like, oh yeah. It's quite a nice game. Again, I'm disappointed that I didn't anticipate bishop b4. It was a threat that I should have seen, but I did manage to clutch out the game, which was very nice. It was very nice. Thanks a lot for watching this game analysis. I'll see you tomorrow for round 3. Hopefully that goes well. Thank you and goodbye.